Hey guys, looking for new VR games to play in 2025? Then you're in the right video. We've started the list with Wanderer: The Fragments of Fate, a remake of the acclaimed adventure game Wanderer, originally released in 2022 by developer Mighty Eyes. This new version has been completely rebuilt from the ground up with next-generation technology using the Unreal Engine 5 graphics engine and promises to deliver an even more immersive and visually impressive experience. The game focuses on time travel, combining elements of action, puzzles, and exploration in a virtual reality environment. You take on the role of Asher Newman, the protagonist, who is on a mission to travel through time and prevent the collapse of civilization. The plot begins in an alternate and apocalyptic timeline, where Asher discovers an unusual wristwatch that gives him the ability to traverse time and space. The next game on the list is Geronimo, a tactical first-person shooter focused on close-quarters combat designed specifically for virtual reality. The game promises an immersive and realistic experience, putting players in the role of special forces operators on high-risk missions. Specific missions, such as the famous Clean House and Wolf's Den from Modern Warfare, serve as references for gameplay design, suggesting intense and dynamic scenarios where quick decisions are crucial. The central premise of Geronimo is set in a modern world, where players take control of elite operators carrying out unconventional operations. One of the game's highlights is the breaching mechanic. Players will have access to various tools and methods for entering buildings, such as explosives, battering rams, or stealth techniques. Hellsplit. Arena is a virtual reality game that combines elements of horror and melee combat in a dark fantasy world. It is described as a horror slasher, with a physically realistic combat system and dynamic battles in arenas, set in a dark fantasy setting inspired by the Middle Ages, filled with undead. The game uses a combat system that physically simulates slashing, piercing, and impact blows. You can use weapons, grab enemies, kick, and even use movement tactics to win. Player skill and stamina are crucial to success in each fight. The game world is set in the Middle Ages, with a dark and frightening tone, perfect for those who enjoy intense challenges and immersive atmospheres. Gorn 2 is the highly anticipated sequel to the popular virtual reality gladiator simulator Gorn, developed by Free Lives. The game promises to be even more exaggerated and violent than its predecessor, with new weapons, traps, and power-ups to increase the adrenaline rush. In addition to the main campaign, Gorn 2 will offer an endless mode survival mode and a custom mode to create your own battlefields. Some fans of the first Gorn question the lack of strategy and variety in combat, but most players seem eager for the sequel's release. Gorn 2 promises to be an even more fun and violent experience than its predecessor, with new features, game modes, and platforms. If you're a fan of the first Gorn, or are looking for a fun and action-packed virtual reality game, Gorn 2 might be a good option. Gunman Contracts Standalone is an action movie-inspired shooter that promises an intense and cinematic experience. It will be released for PC, and will be available in both VR and non-VR, allowing players to choose how they prefer to immerse themselves in the action. In the game, you take on the role of a professional assassin who faces relentless forces from the criminal underworld. The player's mission is to bring justice and order to a world that is beyond the reach of the law, completing dangerous and exciting contracts. Each contract puts the player in high-tension situations, with intense shootouts and strategic challenges. The player has access to a base called Gunman's Base, where they can select and configure contracts, missions. This base also serves as a hub for storing, modifying, and customizing weapons. The game features elements such as bullet penetration, ragdoll physics, bodies that react realistically, and enemy confrontation challenges, as well as shooting courses for maximum scoring. The Living Remain is a virtual reality adventure first-person shooter where players immerse themselves in a world where the undead have taken over. You must survive the horde of undead using an arsenal of weapons in a story-driven campaign filled with a variety of interactive environments. The game takes place in a post-apocalyptic world where the undead roam freely and the remaining humans survive in protected compounds. You play as Grant Montgomery, a former soldier who was separated from his family and is now searching for them. He finds a group of survivors, including Alex, who becomes his ally and helps him navigate the world through a radio. The game offers a full campaign with story-driven gameplay, allowing you to embark on a purposeful journey as you progress through a compelling story.
The military was stationed there at some point. Do you see any signs of them still being there?
I don't know, but I'll find out.
Project Mix is a narrative virtual reality game with a bartending theme, set in a cyberpunk universe with aesthetics inspired by 90s anime. Developed by Plectrum Software, the game puts the player in the role of a bartender in a futuristic red light district. The central premise revolves around interacting with various customers, serving drinks, and exploring their stories to learn more about the city and its inhabitants. Project Mix offers an interactive bartender mechanic where you need to shake, serve, and decorate drinks. The choices you make influence the lives of your customers and even the development of the narrative. The game promises a rich storyline with 6 unique customers with whom you can develop relationships and even romances. Your decisions about what to serve each of them determine the course of the story. Silent North is a VR survival game that puts players in a hostile and unforgiving world where they must fight to survive against the elements, the infected, and other players. The game takes place in the Swiss Alps, where players must explore mountainous landscapes, gather resources, build shelters, and fight to stay alive. The gameplay of Silent North is focused on survival, with players having to gather resources, build shelters, fight enemies, and manage their supplies. The game features an intense combat system, where players must use their skills and tactics to defeat the infected and other players. The game also features a crafting system, where players can use the resources they collect to create items and equipment.
Cause if I want it, then it's mine, that's what I'm saying to you.
Path of Fury, Episode 1. Tetsuo's Tower is a virtual reality action game that puts players on an exciting journey through the fortress of Tetsuo, a powerful leader who controls the entire neighborhood. The game takes place in a world where violence is a constant, and the player takes on the role of a fighter who needs to face the challenges of Tetsuo's fortress. The tower is full of enemies, and the player needs to use their fists and skills to overcome each confrontation. Path of Fury is a virtual reality action experience in an on-rails format, inspired by classic 80s Chinese kung fu films such as the Wong Kar-wai series and The Raid Redemption, and iconic games like Time Crisis and the first of the North Star arcade cabinet. The game emphasizes precision and speed, with each enemy possessing a weakness that must be exploited quickly. Zombie Army VR is a highly anticipated game that brings the famous Zombie Army franchise to the world of virtual reality for the first time. Developed by Rebellion, the game promises an immersive and action-packed experience, perfect for fans of zombies and first-person shooters. The plot of Zombie Army VR continues after the events of the previous games in the series. Although Zombie Hitler has been defeated, the hordes of zombies still plague Europe, which remains in a state of war. You take on the role of a member of the Dead Hunters, an elite team tasked with ending the zombie apocalypse once and for all. The gameplay is described as an intense action shooter, with elements of strategy and survival. You will need to use your skills to defeat enemies and complete missions in a dark and challenging environment. Well, that was the video. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and see you next time.